All right, welcome back. So now we have our cabinet set. The nominees were, well, appointed, sworn in yesterday, and now work begins. But then we want to go back to the process of the vetting process. How was it? And to tell us more about that is Dr. Chris Wamalwa, who is the Member of Parliament of Kiminini constituency in Trans Nzoia County. He was a former University of Nairobi lecturer. Many thanks. Welcome to the Power Breakfast Show, Dr. Ali.
Thank you, thank you.
Perhaps let's begin. I mean, you made the transition from the education sector and now you are in politics. How different is that kind of life?
Okay, my transition not only from academia to politics, actually I started from the private sector. I worked in the pharmaceutical industry. I worked in Smith & Beecham. Evans Kidero was my boss. From that time, I went to Pharmacia International. Pharmacia International relocated. That's the time I decided to go into academia. I started teaching at the University of Nairobi, and I've taught many other universities on part-time basis. I was teaching also Moi University. And some of your colleagues, Mercy Oburu, for example, was my student. I taught her when she was doing her master's. So from academia, I decided to go into politics. And I decided to go to politics because I wanted to represent my people. Where I come from in Trans Nzoia County, we have a lot of problems. We've lacked a lot of leadership. It's an area where we have the poor people. When you talk of Trans Nzoia, many people think Trans Nzoia is for the rich people. Yes, we have the rich farmers. We feed the nation. But we have so many people who are poor. We have a lot of squatters. We have a lot of IDPs. And we've had many cases where we've seen IDPs coming from other regions to come and settle in the area. The squatters, the peasant farmers, are the ones I want to represent. For instance, as a scholar, I've put education as a priority. And just like what the Bible says, we are all equal before the eyes of God. And one of my critical agenda has been to help the poor people so that they can be able to go to school. Because it's only education that will make a difference. It doesn't matter who your father is, it doesn't matter who your mom is. But in Trans Nzoia, we have a big gap between the rich and the poor.
Yep. This morning there were reports of leaflets being circulated in Trans Nzoia with the plans for groups to attack what is happening in Busia and what is happening in Bungoma. Is that the same problem?
No.
People fighting gangsters with no purpose at all? Or is that a different phenomenon?
In Trans Nzoia, I wouldn't say has nothing to do with that, but the issue is the land issue. As a member of parliament for Kiminini, we've had a lot of cases of land problems, whereby you find that the peasant farmers came together, they bought land, and they did not get title deeds. And we have some big powers that be. They collude with senior people, and you find they've bought the land. You've been settling in this land. I know of a farm called Taiwai. We have other farms, about 4 or 5 farms, that these occupants didn't have the title deeds. But all of a sudden, a big person comes and says, hey, I've bought this land. And he goes to the police, he's shown the title deed, you don't know how he acquired that title deed, and the poor farmer is told to leave. Right now, as we speak, we find more than 30, 40 policemen are guarding lands which have been occupied by the squatters, just because of the big people who have bought that land. The process that they acquired that land is what we don't know. So these are the small farmers who are suffering. And the only way is...
But Mwashima, these quarters, this is wedding buyer, wedding seller. Here is a farm, maybe being auctioned because by AFC, Agricultural Finance Corporation.
Yes.
Because the squatter did not pay or cannot pay.
Yes.
It is upon you leaders there to organize the squatters to raise the money and pay AFC. If you don't, a private farmer, a rich man like me, will come there and buy the farm. And the law says, out with the squatters.
The issue is the process. We are not saying
then
it is wrong.
Then go to court.
We've gone to court and court has offered an injunction.
Yes.
So when you offer an injunction, what it means, you retain the status quo. But the status quo is not being maintained. The status quo means those who are...
stay there.
Yeah, because they were the ones who are occupying.
Because if I may just quote the leaflet that was actually, that is being circulated, there's a statement that says, the court is for all, but decisions favor the rich. do you expect we will watch poor people suffering at the expense of the rich? So that basically shows there is a struggle between the two classes. What is the way forward in terms of handling that situation?
To me, the way forward is involving all the stakeholders. In such a situation, to me, I think all the stakeholders must be brought together. Look at the genesis. How did it start? How did the squatter issue come in? Because really, if someone maybe was unable to buy land, and we've called upon FC many times to write off some of these debts, they've done it. But when it comes to implementation, is where there's a problem. Here, the farmers have come in form of a SACCO, they've bought land, and maybe they did not finish the loan. We've seen many cases the government has been writing off these loans so that this poor farmer can retain the land. But the rich people go to this FC and they collude. You find the land is being auctioned. So the poor farmer is not being represented. And when it comes to, the courts, if the courts are saying, retain the status quo means if you are a poor farmer, you've been staying there, you remain there till the issue is resolved. But it becomes a problem when the rich go, maybe they collude with the police, and the security force come and displace this poor farmer who has been staying there. So the court order is being violated. Or maybe we need to go further and interpret and be able to know what do we mean by retaining the status quo. Land issue is something very critical, especially in Trans Nzoia. Trans Nzoia, we used to have the white farmers. There are many people who used to do for them these small jobs. These are the squatters we have in Trans Nzoia. As leaders, we've been on the forefront complaining when the government brings people from Nakuru to come and settle them in Trans Nzoia. It hurts us more because we already have the IDPs in Trans Nzoia. And that's why we've been saying they should be on the forefront. They should be the first ones to be settled before you go get someone from outside. In such a situation where we have leaflets, my humble request is the security personnel must be able to investigate, to be able to know who are the culprits. The constitution is very clear. Everyone is allowed to demonstrate, so long as you don't use violent means. I don't think my squatters in Kiminini have demonstrated violently. They are trying to speak, and they want the government to hear them, because this issue has been going on for long.
Are you supporting violence?
I don't support violence. I don't support
what
violence.
What are the leaflets saying?
We're not saying the leaflets are coming from the squatters. Where the source is coming from, I don't know.
But they're the ones grumbling.
No, do you have...
Gruntled.
No, but there's no evidence to show that they're the ones doing the leaflets. What I know, demonstrations have been going on to say, hey, here we own this land. The court has ruled to retain a status quo. But the work of the police force is not...
That's abusing the court.
No, it's not abusing the court. Maybe we need to go for some interpretation. Anyone who is maybe aggrieved, you must go to the court. Whether you are a politician, irrespective of your status, whether you're a businessman, it's only the court which is going to give us direction. It's only the court who is going to take care of this poor farmer, of this squatter.
Essentially, the fact of the matter is this.
Yes, sir.
You're asking the AFC writes off the loans.
Yes.
And somebody else has already come and bought the land. You are saying it's collusion.
What
somebody there who has
no, you didn't get me. You didn't get me right. You didn't get me right. What I said is this: we've had SACCOs coming to buy land through the poor farmer, and at times difficulties they are unable maybe to service the loan. But there was a requisition from the government to write off these debts. These debts, for sure, they were written off. So the challenge comes in when it comes to implementation. If this farm has been written off, but the government has not been issuing the titles, then someone somewhere comes afterwards. The loans were written off, you collude with the powers that be, then you come and buy the land. This is unfair. And this is what the people of Trans Nzoia are complaining about.
Anyway, that aside,
yes,
there's violence there, there's potential for squatters fighting with landowners. And in any case, even those landowners who own it, when you buy, you need workers to work for you.
Yes.
And probably the same squatters were kicking away.
Absolutely. The issue is we should have an amicable solution. And anyone maybe was going to take that advantage to bring violence, the law should take care of that. I'm not coming here to say that the squatters should go and maybe become violent or whatever. No. But what we are saying is the police force, when they go there, they should go there to maintain security, law and order. They should not go there to support who are these rich people who went and acquired this land in an unscrupulous manner. That's what we are against.
And of course, just to focus still a bit on Kiminini, just looking at Trans Nzoia.
Yes.
Just this month, actually, you mounted pressure on Governor Patrick Khaemba for nominating an executive member without advertising the position. How's that issue going?
I never said without advertising, because the law is very clear when it comes to governor. He has a discretion to nominate the executive committee members who will again be vetted by the county parliament. It's just like the president, what President Uhuru did. You don't have to advertise. It's your discretion. There's no provision in the law which says that the governor must advertise. So the only thing that about Governor Khaemba, who is my governor, he had only nominated one. And the law is very clear. It's supposed to be 10. In fact, the county assembly did an illegality to go and pass only one executive nominee. But I'm told yesterday he nominated the entire team. So what follows is it has to go to the county assembly to vet these people to see whether they are fit to represent the people. He needs to look at the regional balancing. As you know, Trans Nzoia is a small Kenya. All the 42 tribes, they live in Trans Nzoia. He has to look at the issues of gender. He has to look at the issues of the youth, disability, and all that. So the county assembly has to go and vet to be able to see that executive committee that is appointed, really it reflects the face of Trans Nzoia. But already I'm seeing, I've just had some people demonstrating already in Trans Nzoia. They are against the list. I don't know who he appointed.
But surely there are 9 people. And as you say, it's the face of Kenya.
Yes.
There's no way he can appoint the face of Kenya.
Absolutely.
Because there are only 9.
9 people.
And we have 42 tribes.
Let me tell you one thing,
That's
Mr.
not possible.
Mutegi. The issue is, you can do it proportionately. Proportionately means you have the 42 years, but you can be able to see what are the ratios in terms of presentation. So in other words, we are not saying you must pick the 42, but do it proportionately and look at maybe the academic qualifications and the experience. If it reflects that, there's no problem. At least you can try as much as possible.
As a member of parliament,
yes,
it is not your business to see what the governor does. It is the business of the senator and the county parliament. You are outside there.
No,
It is the business.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Our constitution is very clear about the aspect of inclusion. As a leader from that region, I have a responsibility to play. We want it to be consultative and participatory.
You are interfering with the governor's work.
We're not interfering. What we are saying is this: governors should stop behaving like they can work in isolation. You must
They
work.
have the Senate to monitor them.
No.
You are in the National Assembly.
No. That does not mean that. My constituency, it's at the county level. I have a role to play in terms of consultation and participation. But that does not mean I'm going to dictate to the governor that you must do A, B, C, D.
What we are doing now is beyond you, because the Senate is supposed to look at that, and the county parliament, when they meet, they're supposed to vet the 9 people who have been appointed by the governor.
Mr. Mutegi,
It's none of your business.
It's just last week, the National Assembly passed the bill on revenue division. When it comes to the division of revenue, it touches matters with the county. It is a wrong assumption. People think that it's only the Senate that handles the matters to do with the county level. No. The revenue bill, which we just passed last week, it comes to National Assembly. We debated it for 10 days. Then it moves to the Senate. There are some issues we work together. The Senate does not work in isolation. Right now, we are working towards the budget. And the budget estimates have been tabled in the National Assembly. So after we finalize the National Assembly, it will go to the Senate. So there is a role that we play together. It does not mean the Senate works in isolation or Parliament just works in isolation.
That does not mean that, Mr. Mheshimiwa, you must micromanage, which you are doing, the preparations of the work of the Trans Nzoia and what the governor is doing. You try to micromanage.
No. We are not micromanaging. We want consultation and participation.
But we have no role there.
No, we have a role. We have a role.
In Parliament, not there.
In Parliament,
In
yes.
Parliament.
Okay,
Not
let me
there.
show my role now at the county level. Okay, we have the CDF. You know what happened? The CDF Act.
Which we are trying to influence the
No,
appointment.
we're not influencing.
In fact,
We're
somebody
not
has gone to
influencing.
court to stop what we're doing.
No,
You members
no.
of Parliament, the 9th,
no,
the
let
11th,
me
the
explain.
Parliament is going to be worst.
The CDF Act is very clear. Within the 45 days of being sworn in, the Member of Parliament is supposed to call for a meeting to elect the members of the CDF committee.
Yes.
Personally, in Trans Nzoia, like in Kimini, for example, who did it very well, and people are happy, those people were elected. But as you know, you can't satisfy everybody 100%. Jesus Christ was healing people, but not everybody liked him. So we have to see that we are doing everything as per the law. The development aspects we're going to do at the constituency level. We don't want to duplicate the ones that the governor is going to do.
The complaint by members of public throughout this country is that members of Parliament are trying to influence and appoint the cronies to be in the CDF. They were the 10th Parliament did. That's what Kenyans don't want.
No, you know, where Mr. Muteki, with due respect, the issue is this. If you subjected the people to elect the officials, and coincidentally, they elect someone maybe who was your PA, or maybe someone who was close to you.
Yeah.
So be it.
Right.
So be it.
All right, perhaps because of time we could focus on now the vetting
The
of
vetting
cabinet
of the-
secretaries. Of course, now they have already been appointed, but concerns were raised, especially on how the vetting was done. In fact, in one of his articles, Macharia Gaido said if somebody like Patni was part of the nominees, he could actually been passed because the questions were purely cosmetic.
Okay, on the issue of vetting, I want to say this because I was a member of the Appointments Committee, and that vetting was done on the basis of the Public Appointments Act. The Public Appointments Act is very clear. We are not going just to reinvent the wheel. We have to vet as per what is in the law. We were to vet these candidates along aspects like tax compliance, aspects of integrity, aspects of academic background, aspects of leadership, aspects of maybe work experience. This issue has been coming up, and someone had called me on the issue of Mheshimiwa Charity Ngilu. Mheshimiwa Charity Ngilu's case, for instance, she was cleared by Parliament. Much that the perception was there, but you must have the evidence. And the law was very clear that anyone who is against the nominee, you have to go through an affidavit, then you bring the affidavits. People did this, and with the rule of justice, definitely, we had to also inform these nominees that there's this affidavit against you, the same way they also have to do the same. So when you come up and say in the public domain that so and so is a criminal, or so and so cannot pass the integrity test, you must bring evidence. Mheshimiwa Charity Ngilu, for instance, the parliamentary committee that was there under Mutava Musimi cleared her, and it was in the Hansard. And actually, she brought it. So that was the evidence. So there's no way you'll have expected the appointments committee to pin her down.
What about the one that your committee rejected but was approved by Parliament?
Now,
That had integrity issues.
the
She had
lady
integrity
Phyllis
issues.
Kandie,
Yes.
on the issues of integrity,
Yes.
on the issues she was accused of in Baringo,
Yes.
she had actually had a sworn affidavit which she brought to the committee. As you go to a public appointment position, you will see some people come up with malice. Even you right now, go for any appointment position, people will come up with all allegations.
Yeah.
But as a committee, we must be objective.
So what the affidavit was saying what? That she
It
did,
was clear.
that they did not misappropriate the 2
She
million
did
gold.
not, and it was actually shown. The only issue we had with Kandie...
But swearing an affidavit doesn't mean anything.
No. When you saw an affidavit, and we also interrogate, we'll be able to come up and be able to see where the truth is.
So you mean
because we interrogated, and he showed evidence of that payment. So once that comes to the committee, we can't expect you can't expect the committee to rule otherwise. Yeah. We have to go as per the evidence. The only problem that was there with Madam Philip Kandie was the issues of expression, the issues of maybe knowledge of the job. Okay? And I think you heard about it when we discussed about these issues of SADC and all that. But maybe she didn't have enough time to do her research. And we had many parameters that we are supposed to look at before we make a conclusion. But you see, whatever the committee decides, it is the floor of the House to decide. So when members looked at the remarks, they were not convinced. And we go as per what the House decided. Let's give her a chance. Let's be able to see. It is very clear what the president said. If you're not going to perform, you're going to go home. Even in many common cases, when you do an interview, you are given a job, you are put on probation. Upon probation, you clear that your employer is satisfied, is when you'll be confirmed. So what I want to tell the Kenyans is, let's give Phyllis Kandie a chance. We are going to watch her. In case she's not going to perform, I'm sure His Excellency the President knows what he's going to do.
Yeah, just another concern in relation to how the vetting process was done. Macharia Gaido still says the casual and uninformed way in which the parliamentary committee interrogated the men and women nominated to the cabinet made a mockery of the whole exercise. It was casual, it was uninformed, it made a mockery of the whole exercise.
As I said earlier, maybe that Macharia Gaido is ignorant about the Public Appointments Act. As I say, the Public Appointments Act has a clear framework that you're supposed to follow. Maybe what we need to do, we need to bring an amendment so that it becomes comprehensive. Because as you go there, there's a framework we're supposed to follow. And I refer him to the Public Appointments Act. You know, you can talk out of ignorance. Yeah. But as we come there as a committee, we have to follow what is in the law. We can't go and reinvent our own laws. So we are going as the Public Appointments Act. My humble request is, let Macharia Gaido go and read the law. The vetting committee does not come with your own questions. It's outlined in the law. And we thank Mheshimiwa Mungatana for the work he did on this Public Appointments Committee. As a matter of fact, there's a questionnaire where these people have to fill. So the Appointments Committee did what is expected of them as per the law. Maybe what we need to do, we need to bring an amendment, maybe to bring that to be more comprehensive. That's what I can advise. But you can't expect the Appointments Committee to come up with something which is not within the law.
All right. The questions are coming in. In fact, you can actually send your questions to 244. The MW from Nairobi says, what value do parliamentary commissions on vetting cabinet secretaries, what value do they bring? Most of the cabinet secretaries are technocrats and more academically qualified than some of the MPs. They were asking irrelevant questions. Some of the MPs were not vindicated of their own integrity issues. How do you respond to MW?
Now, on that issue, there's no in the law which says that if someone is more academically qualified, you cannot vet. Okay? So, does he know the academic qualifications of the members of parliament who are on that panel? Some people are qualified, people have PhDs, have different degrees. So when it comes to academic qualification, you don't just come and conclude that this is because a member of parliament in the law they says Form 4 or whatever. No. Members of parliament are qualified and they bring on board different expertise. So that assumption that he has made, that is actually very wrong. We have professors who are members of parliament. We have PhD holders, master's holders who are members of parliament. And there's nowhere in the law where it says when it comes to vetting, you can only vet when you have a high academic qualification. Most of the issues we are looking at were issues to do with integrity. Okay? And that aspect of integrity are in line with Chapter 6 of the Constitution on leadership and integrity. And as I mentioned earlier, when you look at the Public Appointments Act, it has a clear framework which you are following to vet these people.
What do you say of the demonstration that took place
on Tuesday?
On the 15th?
The demonstrations.
Take over
the piglets.
The pigs and the piglets. Do you think the people who are demonstrating have made a point to members of parliament to think twice about what they're trying to do?
It is their constitutional right. The constitution of this country allows everybody to express himself. But demonstration does not mean you demonstrate to infringe on other people's rights. I support what they did, but they're not supposed to have come to parliament and block parliament because...
They wanted you to sign that thing that you will not continue. There is a thing that you wanted to sign there. Did you sign it?
I was not given. If I was given,
if you are given, would you
if
sign
I was
it?
given and I'll have known the objective of that,
The-
I'll have done it.
The objective was basically don't push for higher pay.
Yeah.
No, what Parliament is doing is not pushing for higher salaries.
Yes.
I think we need to agree on this. Everybody has a right to defend the constitution of this country. When you look at the Serem Commission, and you've had many members of Parliament, people talking about it, when it comes to job evaluation, being a scholar and I've been a consultant, job evaluation, there are so many factors we have to look at, okay? But when we looked at the way Serem Commission did, they just took the salaries that the other members of Parliament were getting, multiplying by the number, then divide by 349. When it comes to a comprehensive job evaluation, you are supposed to look at the working conditions of this particular person that you are trying to evaluate that position. You are supposed to look at the academic background. You are supposed to look at the work experience, aspects of leadership. There are many parameters that you are supposed to look when it comes to job evaluation. But what Parliament has been complaining is not even about that. What it's saying, and in line with the international labor laws, says that salaries should not. I think you had what
No.
said, isn't it?
People,
reduce.
the
And
general,
those international treaties, they are within our constitution.
No,
and what
this
Parliament
is
is
a
saying,
new
this is a
let me
new,
take it.
it's
What
the
is-
11th Parliament.
11th
It's a new
Parliament
contract.
with a new contract, with new constitution.
Muteki, what I want to say is this. Parliament has been fighting an illegality that Serem used. Serem as a commission, you cannot go and repeal another act of Parliament. She does not have powers to do that. Parliament is under Parliamentary Service Commission. And she brought this through delegated legislation. She did not follow the process.
The Parliamentary Service Commission
Absolutely.
is
Is
represented
represented.
in the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. The Speaker is a member.
He's a member, yes. So, but the process of how the Gazette notice came is what members of Parliament are against. She does not have powers to go and repeal another act of Parliament. It's only Parliament which has powers to do that. So with her recommendations, she'll have come through Parliament. I don't know why she went the other way around. That is where we are fighting. And that's where the problem is. So that is in itself, it's an illegality, it is unconstitutional. We have no problem with whatever the recommendations are.
So would
but
you-
the process
if
she
the
followed...
if the process was fine, would you take the 500?
Absolutely, if the process was done, we have no problem with that.
You would have
But the
taken-
process was wrong. So two wrongs don't make something right. And that's why members of Parliament are complaining. We need to understand the methodology that she used to arrive at this. Because methodology is very critical before you come up with the results. Up to now, we don't know. Is it a coincidence that when you multiply the number of members of Parliament and the annual salary and divide by 349, you get this? She needs to come and explain to
But
us.
she came out and said
We've
they
invited
looked
her.
at the economies of 9 countries. They did it scientifically. And that's the information in the public
Let me
domain.
explain something. Serem is being populist in this way. She's talking about the wage bill. When you do analysis of this country, most of the money is not in the wage bill. It's being wasted through corruption. This is what we have failed to look into.
They
A lot
say-
of money, the loopholes are going into corruption. If that money is contained, I can tell you,
That's not the,
Kenya will be
that's-
very far.
that's
Because
not-
her basis has been on the wage bill.
she says 1 point something, population of 1 point something takes more than 50% of the income, whereas the rest is taken by ordinary people.
Let me
Very few
explain,
people get a
explain
lot of
something
money.
about Parliament. You know, when you talk of the Parliamentary Service Commission, that salary does not just go to MPs alone. We have the staff in Parliament, some staff which is well qualified. When you look at the ratio of the staff, the salary of the staff and members of Parliament, maybe it's almost 50% or 40 to 60. So it does not mean that wage bill and the Parliamentary Service Commission is only going to members of Parliament. That is the ignorance that is there. When you look at the ratio, we have the clerk, we have other people in finance, in human resource. So it comes as consolidated. So go further and do an analysis and see what is the division, what ratio is members of Parliament and what ratio is the other staff. We need to start from there, but not just to assume that.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Because of time, we'll have to stop there. Talking to Dr. Chris Wamalwa, Member of Parliament, Kiminini, Trans Nzoia County. We'll be right back.